Welcome back to English Win Today. My name is Mary. I am 21 years old. From the outside, my life looks exciting and beautiful. People think I am lucky. They see a young girl who studies at university and also works in the fashion world. But the truth is very different. I live two separate lives, and sometimes it feels like my heart is being pulled in two directions. In the daytime, I am a normal university student. I wake up early and go to my nursing classes. I sit in a classroom with other students, listening carefully to the teacher. I study about the human body, medicine, and how to take care of sick people. My dream is simple but important. I want to become a nurse one day. I want to help people who are suffering. I want to hold their hands when they feel scared and weak. My classes are not easy. Sometimes the lessons are very hard. There are many books to read and many exams to pass. But even when I feel tired, I still enjoy learning. Nursing is not just a job for me. It is my dream and my future. But when the sun goes down, my life changes completely. At night, I work as a model. It is my secret life. Most people at my university do not know about it. My teachers do not know. Even some of my classmates do not know. I keep the two worlds far away from each other, like two different planets. I did not choose modeling because I love it. I chose it because I must. My family does not have much money. My parents live far away in a small town, and they cannot help me pay for school. I must pay for everything myself. My university fees, my small apartment, my food, my books. Everything costs money. And life in the city is very expensive. Modeling pays much more money than normal part-time jobs. One night of modeling can pay more than a week of working in a small cafe. That is why I do it. But the job is not easy. In the modeling world, you must always look perfect. Your hair must be perfect. Your makeup must be perfect. Your smile must be perfect. People watch you all the time. They judge you with their eyes. Sometimes I study all day at school and then work all night at fashion events or photo shoots. When I come home, the sun is already rising. I sleep for only a few hours before I must go to class again. I'm always tired, but I keep going because I have no other choice. Tonight, I was working at a big party for a famous fashion brand. The event was in a beautiful building in the center of the city. When I walked inside, the room was full of bright lights and loud music. There were many beautiful people everywhere. Women wore shining dresses, and men wore expensive suits. Everyone looked rich and confident. I was wearing a long, elegant dress that the fashion company gave me for the event. The dress was soft and red like a rose. My makeup was perfect, and my hair was styled carefully. When people looked at me, they saw a confident young model. But they did not see the tired nursing student inside me. They did not see the girl who was worried about paying next month's rent. They did not see the girl who still had homework waiting on her small desk at home. I smiled for photographers and stood in front of cameras. Flashing lights filled the room. People laughed loudly and talked about expensive trips, luxury houses, and new sports cars. I stood there quietly, listening. Their world felt very far from my world. For them, this party was fun. For me, it was only work. While I stood near a tall table with drinks, I tried to look calm and comfortable. But inside, I felt very small in that big, shining room. Then something happened. I noticed a man standing across the room. His name was Mark. Even before I met him, I knew who he was. Many people in the fashion industry knew his name. He was a very powerful man. If he liked a model, that model could become famous. If he disliked a model, her career could end very quickly. Mark was older than most people at the party. He looked about 57 years old. His hair was gray, and he wore a dark, expensive suit that fit him perfectly. But what made him different from everyone else was his face. He was not smiling. While other people were laughing and drinking, Mark stood quietly with a serious expression. His eyes looked cold and sharp, like they could see through people. Several young models stood near him. They tried to talk to him and laugh at his jokes. They wanted his attention because they knew he was powerful. But Mark did not look at them. Instead, his eyes found me. From the other side of the room, he stared directly at me. He watched me for a long time. His gaze made me feel uncomfortable, like I was being studied. I tried to look away, but I could still feel his eyes on me. Then suddenly, he began to walk toward me. The other models watched him move. I noticed their surprised faces. Some of them looked shocked. Some looked jealous. Mark walked past all of them and came straight to me. He stopped right in front of me. He was much taller than I was. I had to look up to see his face. He stood very close, and I could smell his expensive cologne. "You are Mary," he said. His voice was calm and low. It was not a question. I nodded slowly because my voice seemed to disappear. Then he spoke again. "I will be direct," he said. His cold eyes looked straight into mine. "You have two choices." My heart began to beat faster. "You can agree to date me," he continued. "If you say yes, your life will change. You will have a new car, a beautiful apartment, expensive clothes. You will have everything you want." I felt frozen. The music was still loud around us, but his words were very clear. "And if I say no?" I asked quietly. His expression did not change. "If you say no," he said slowly, "I will make sure you never model in this city again." For a moment, I could not breathe. My mind became empty. It was not a question. It was a threat. I looked past his shoulder at the other models watching us. They were whispering and staring, but they did not look worried for me. They looked jealous. In their eyes, this powerful man choosing me was something lucky. But inside my heart, I felt something very different. Fear. I stood there in silence, not knowing what to say. That night, my life began to change in a way I could never imagine. And I did not know yet if that change would save me or destroy me. I went home after the party feeling very confused. My small apartment was cold and quiet. The room was simple. The walls were empty and the furniture was old. A small table stood near the window, and my nursing books were piled on it. My bed was narrow and uncomfortable. This was my real life. I sat on the edge of my bed and held my phone in my hands. My mind kept returning to Mark's words again and again. "You have two choices." His voice echoed inside my head. If I said yes, my life could become easier. I would not have to worry about money anymore. I could focus on my studies and stop struggling every day. But if I said no, he would destroy my modeling career. Without modeling, I did not know how I would pay for my school or my rent. The more I thought about it, the more trapped I felt. Both choices were scary, but one choice at least offered hope. I did not sleep that night. I kept thinking about the future. I thought about my dream of becoming a nurse. I thought about my parents, who believed I was doing well in the city. I thought about all the bills waiting for me. When the morning sun finally came through the window, I was still sitting on my bed. I knew what I had to do. My hands were shaking when I picked up my phone. I found Mark's number in my messages and pressed the call button. The phone rang only once before he answered. "Hello," he said calmly. His voice was deep and serious, just like at the party. For a moment, I could not speak. My throat felt tight. Then I forced the words out. "I will do it," I said quietly. "I will date you." There was a short silence on the phone. Then Mark spoke again. "Good," he said simply. "A car will arrive for you in 1 hour." He ended the call. Exactly 1 hour later, a long black car stopped outside my building. I looked out the window and saw the driver standing beside the open door. I had never seen a car like that before. When I walked outside, the driver greeted me politely and helped me into the car. The seats were soft black leather, and the inside smelled new and clean. We drove through the city to a very expensive clothing store. When I entered the store, I saw Mark waiting for me. He was wearing another perfect dark suit. His face looked calm and serious. He looked at my old clothes for a moment. "We need to change that," he said. He led me through the store, choosing clothes himself. Dresses, shoes, jackets. Everything was beautiful and expensive. Then he handed me a red dress. "Try this," he said. I went into the dressing room and slowly put it on. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I almost did not recognize the girl looking back at me. She looked confident and elegant. She did not look like the tired student who lived in a cold apartment. When I walked out of the dressing room, Mark studied me carefully. "It suits you," he said. Later that evening, we went to a fine restaurant. The place looked like something from a movie. The lights were soft, and the tables were covered with white cloth. When we walked in, many people turned to look at us. They looked at Mark with respect because he was powerful. They looked at me with curiosity because I was with him. For the first time in my life, I felt visible. Mark ordered expensive food and wine. The plates looked like art, and the smell was wonderful. He asked about my life, my studies, and my dream of becoming a nurse. I told him about my university classes and how hard I studied every day. He listened carefully. Slowly, I began to relax. Maybe I was wrong about him, I thought. Maybe he was not as cold as he seemed. During the next few weeks, my life felt like a dream. Mark and I went on many dates. Sometimes we met 2 or 3 times each week. We visited beautiful restaurants, old theaters, and quiet cafes. Every place felt special and luxurious. He bought me new dresses and shoes. My closet slowly filled with things I had never been able to afford before. One evening, he gave me a small blue box. "Open it," he said. Inside the box was a thin gold bracelet. It was simple, but very beautiful. "For you, Mary," he said softly. Then he gently placed it on my wrist. I had never owned real gold before. I felt happy and grateful. But deep inside, a strange feeling began to grow. I knew these gifts were not truly free. Mark also helped me with my problems. One night, I mentioned that my laptop was very old and slow. It often froze when I tried to study. The next day, a brand new computer arrived at my apartment. I never asked for it. He simply sent it. I should have felt lucky, but instead, I began to feel something heavy in my heart. Every gift made me feel like I owed him something more. When we walked together, Mark often held my hand. His hand was large and warm around mine. Sometimes he placed his arm around my shoulders when we sat together. His touch was gentle, but it also felt strong, almost like he was claiming something that belonged to him. He always watched me carefully. When I talked, his eyes stayed on my face. When I laughed, he watched my mouth. When I moved my hands, his gaze followed them. It made me feel nervous. Sometimes I wondered what he was truly thinking. At the end of every date, he walked me to my door. He always gave me a soft kiss on the cheek before leaving, but I knew those gentle kisses would not last forever. Mark was patient, but he was waiting for something more. One rainy evening, we were sitting together in his car. The rain tapped softly against the windows. The inside of the car was warm and quiet. We drove slowly through the city streets. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, Mark stopped the car on a quiet street. The lights of the city reflected softly on the wet road. He turned to look at me. The silence inside the car felt heavy. Slowly, he moved closer. I could feel the warmth of his body beside me. My heart began to beat very fast. Then he lifted his hand and gently touched my face. His fingers were warm. Before I could say anything, he leaned forward and kissed me. The kiss was slow and soft. For a moment, I forgot everything. I forgot about my money problems. I forgot about my small apartment. But suddenly, a thought filled my mind. There was something I had never told him. I slowly pulled away from the kiss. "Mark," I whispered. He looked at me calmly. "What is it?" he asked. My heart was beating so loudly that I felt he could hear it. I took a deep breath. "This is difficult to say," I told him quietly. Then the words finally came out. "I have never been with a man before." The car became completely silent. "I am a virgin." For a moment, I thought he would laugh or become angry, but instead, his eyes widened with surprise. Then a big smile appeared on his face. "A virgin," he repeated. His voice sounded almost excited. "Mary, that is wonderful." He touched my face again and looked at me like I was something very rare and valuable. "You are very special," he said softly. Then he kissed me again. This time, the kiss was deeper and more passionate. "I will take care of you," he whispered. "You are mine to protect." And in that moment, sitting in the quiet car while rain fell outside, I believed him. I trusted him completely. I did not know yet that my life was about to change again, and the dream I was living was about to break. That rainy night, Mark drove us to the most beautiful hotel in the city. The tall building was made of shining glass, and bright lights covered the front entrance. A man in a neat uniform opened the car door for us and welcomed Mark like he was a very important guest. Inside the hotel, everything looked rich and perfect. The floor was shiny like a mirror. The air smelled like flowers and perfume. I felt small walking next to Mark, but he held my hand and guided me toward a quiet elevator. The elevator moved quickly and silently. My heart was beating fast, but I tried to stay calm. When the doors opened, we walked into a large suite. It was not just a room. It was bigger than my whole apartment. The windows were huge, reaching from the floor to the ceiling. When I looked outside, I could see the entire city below. The lights looked like thousands of small stars shining in the dark. The room was filled with white flowers. I saw white roses on the table and tall lilies near the window. Their sweet smell filled the air. On a small table beside the sofa was a silver bucket with a bottle of champagne resting in ice. Mark opened the bottle carefully. The cork popped with a soft sound, and he poured the drink into 2 tall glasses. He handed one glass to me. "To you, Mary," he said softly. His eyes looked warm and kind that night. They did not look cold or serious like before. We sat together near the window and talked for a long time. Mark did not speak about fashion or work. Instead, he asked about my dream of becoming a nurse. He listened carefully while I spoke. He nodded and smiled when I told him how much I wanted to help sick people. For the first time, I felt like he saw the real me. Not the model, not the girl in expensive dresses, but the student who worked hard and had dreams. When he touched my hair gently, I was not afraid. My heart beat fast, but the feeling was warm and exciting. I told myself that maybe this was not just a deal anymore. Maybe he truly cared about me. That night, Mark was gentle and patient with me. He spoke softly and told me I was beautiful and special. I was nervous because everything was new to me, but he treated me kindly. I believed his words. I believed he loved me. Later, we lay together in the large, soft bed. The sheets were white and clean, and the room was quiet, except for the distant sounds of the city. I rested my head on his chest and listened to his heartbeat. His arms were around me, holding me close. In that moment, all my problems seemed far away. My cold apartment, my empty bank account, my lonely nights studying, everything disappeared. I was not a poor student anymore. I felt like a woman who was loved. And slowly, I fell asleep, feeling safe and happy. But when I woke up the next morning, everything had changed. The sunlight filled the hotel room, making the walls glow with soft golden light. For a moment, I smiled as I remembered the night before. I turned my head, hoping to see Mark sleeping beside me. But his side of the bed was empty. The sheets were cold. Then I saw him. He was standing near the window, already dressed in his dark business suit. His back was straight, and he was looking down at his phone, typing quickly. He looked serious and distant. Nothing like the man who held me the night before. "Mark," I said softly. My voice sounded small in the big room. He turned slowly and looked at me, but his eyes were different. They were cold again. The warmth from the night before was completely gone. "You should get dressed," he said. His voice was flat and empty. "The driver is waiting downstairs." For a moment, I did not understand his words. I sat up slowly in the bed, holding the sheet around me. Then Mark walked to the small table beside the bed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick stack of money. Without looking at me, he placed the cash on the table. The sound was soft, but it felt like thunder inside my chest. Suddenly, everything became clear. The flowers, the champagne, the gentle words, the soft kisses. It was never love. It was a transaction. He wanted something from me, and now that he had it, the deal was finished. The money on the table was my payment. A hot wave of shame rushed through my body. My face burned, but I could not cry. I felt frozen, like my heart had turned into stone. Mark did not look at me again. He simply turned back to the window and continued using his phone, as if I did not exist. I quickly got out of bed and found my clothes. My hands were shaking so badly that it was hard to dress myself. The beautiful room suddenly felt cold and empty. I walked toward the door without saying a word. I did not look at the money. I did not want to touch it. It felt dirty. I opened the door and left the room forever. The next few days were the hardest days of my life. I stayed inside my apartment. I did not eat much. I barely slept. I only cried. The red dress Mark bought for me hung on a chair in the corner. It looked like something from another world. When I looked at it, my chest hurt. I felt stupid. I felt used. I felt broken. But on the fourth day, something inside me changed. I walked into the bathroom and looked at my face in the mirror. My eyes were red and tired. But I also saw something else. A small fire. Mark wanted me to feel weak and silent. He wanted me to disappear. But I decided I would not let that happen. I was not just a model. I was not just a poor girl. I was Mary. I opened my old laptop and began to write. My hands trembled, but my heart felt strong. I wrote the truth. I wrote about the party and the choice he gave me. I wrote about the expensive dates and the shifts. I wrote about the hotel night and the money he left on the table. I did not say his name, but people in the fashion world knew exactly who I meant. My story spread quickly online. Thousands of people read it. Many were shocked and angry. Soon, other models began sharing their own stories about Mark. They had been silent before because they were afraid. But now they were brave. The truth became too big to hide. Soon, newspapers began writing about the scandal. Mark's powerful name became a symbol of shame. He lost his job. His reputation was destroyed. He called my phone many times, but I never answered. I had nothing to say to him anymore. My life also changed. I lost my modeling career. The job offers stopped. Some people said I was brave. Others said I caused trouble. But strangely, I did not feel sad. I felt peaceful. I took the money from the hotel room. At first, I hated it. But then I decided to use it for something good. I used every dollar to pay for my university education. Now I am a full-time nursing student. My apartment is still small. My life is still simple. But I walk to my classes with my head held high. I do not need expensive dresses or powerful men to feel important. I have my books. I have my dream. And most importantly, I have my freedom. Thank you for listening to Mary's story. Life can sometimes bring difficult choices, but our courage and honesty can change everything. Mary lost money and fame, but she found something much more valuable: her dignity, her voice, and her future. Remember, true strength is not about wealth or power. It is about standing up for yourself and doing what is right. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to English Win Today to hear more inspiring stories in simple English. Keep learning, keep growing, and never be afraid to tell the truth. See you in the next story. Bye-bye.